You're not real family, Sophia, so stop pretending you belong here. My adoptive brother Marcus sneered, physically blocking the church entrance while mourners streamed past us. The same church where Grandpa Theodore had walked me down the aisle at my wedding. Because my adoptive father claimed he had a business emergency. But I could see him now in the third pew, dabbing fake tears. The funeral program in Marcus's hand trembled slightly, and I wondered if he'd already seen the note tucked inside that would change everything. The reading of Theodore Morrison's last will and testament will commence immediately following the service. Please, I said quietly, aware of the eyes on us. I just want to say goodbye to Grandpa. He's not your grandpa. My adoptive sister Claire joined Marcus, her black designer dress pristine despite the morning rain. You were just a charity case Mom and Dad took in. Theodore had 5 biological grandchildren. We don't need you confusing things. Charity case. 25 years since the Morrison family had adopted me at age 7, and I was still the outsider. Still the girl they brought home from foster care for the tax benefits and the praise at church. The obituary lists 6 grandchildren. I pointed out, holding up my phone showing the funeral home's website. That was a mistake, Marcus said flatly. We already spoke to the director about correcting it. Now leave before you make a scene. Behind him, I could see the church filling with people who'd known me since I was 7. Mrs. Patterson, who'd taught me piano because the Morrisons wouldn't pay for lessons. Mr. Kumar from the library, where I'd hidden during family gatherings that got too crowded with me there. Coach Williams, who'd driven me to track meets when my adoptive parents were busy with their real kids' activities. I'll wait in the car, I said, my voice steady despite the burning in my chest. But I'm not leaving. Security will remove you if necessary, Claire threatened, already turning away. This day is hard enough without you trying to insert yourself where you don't belong. I walked back to my 10-year-old Honda, parked between their Mercedes and BMWs. 25 years of being grateful for scraps. 25 years of smiling when they introduced me as our adopted daughter, Sophia, while their biological children were simply our children. 25 years of pretending it didn't hurt when family Christmas cards somehow forgot to include my photo. But Grandpa Theodore had been different. I pulled out my phone and opened the live stream link the funeral home had sent to all family members. The irony wasn't lost on me. Excluded from the physical space, but watching through the same technology they'd used to crop me out of family photos for their social media. The service began, and I watched my adoptive parents, Richard and Patricia Morrison, take their seats in the front row. Their biological children, Marcus, Claire, and the twins, David and Daniel, flanked them like a protective wall. The 5th grandchild they'd mentioned must have been cousin Jeremy, who'd moved to Seattle years ago. Reverend Foster began speaking about Theodore Morrison, the man who'd built Morrison Construction from nothing, who'd donated millions to charity, who'd valued hard work and integrity above all else. The man who'd secretly paid for my college when Richard had declared they'd done enough by raising me. Theodore Morrison believed in choosing your family, Reverend Foster said, and I saw Patricia stiffen in her seat. He often said that blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Miss Sophia Chen. This is Martin Blackwood from Blackwood and Associates. Please call me immediately after the service. It's regarding Mr. Morrison's estate. I minimized the message and continued watching. Marcus was giving the eulogy now, talking about summer fishing trips and grandfather-grandson bonding moments. He failed to mention that I'd been the one who went fishing with Grandpa every Sunday for 15 years, after Marcus declared it boring and for old people. The service felt endless. Each speaker shared memories that carefully erased my existence. Patricia spoke about Theodore's love for his 5 grandchildren. Richard discussed continuing the Morrison legacy through blood and tradition. Claire read a poem about genetic bonds that transcended time. Finally, it ended. I watched the family file out, accepting condolences, planning the reception at the country club where I'd never been welcome as a member. My phone rang before they'd even left the church. Miss Chen. Martin Blackwood. I need you to come to my office immediately. Are you at the funeral? I'm in the parking lot, I admitted. There was a pause. They didn't let you in. Family only, I said, echoing Marcus's words. I see. His voice turned cold, professional. That makes what I'm about to tell you even more significant. Can you be at my office in 20 minutes? 1420 State Street, Suite 500. Mr. Blackwood, what's this about? Theodore Morrison changed his will 3 months ago. The family doesn't know yet. They believe the old will is still in effect. They're in for quite a surprise. My hands shook as I started the car. 3 months ago was when I'd graduated from medical school. Grandpa had been too sick to attend, but he'd called me that night. I'm so proud of you, Sophie girl, he'd said, using the nickname only he was allowed to use. You've become everything I hoped you would, despite them. Blackwood and Associates occupy the top floor of the newest office building downtown. Martin Blackwood himself met me at the elevator. A distinguished man in his 60s with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Theodore spoke of you often, he said, leading me to a conference room. He kept every article about your medical school achievements, every photo from your wedding, every letter you wrote him during your residency. The family's going to be here soon for the reading, I said. Should I wait somewhere else? You'll wait right here, Mr. Blackwood said firmly. You're the primary beneficiary. They can wait in the lobby if they're uncomfortable. Primary beneficiary. The words didn't compute. He handed me a sealed envelope. Theodore asked me to give you this before the others arrived. Inside, Grandpa's shaky handwriting filled a single page. My Sophie girl, if you're reading this, then they've shown you who they really are one final time. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from their coldness while I was alive. Richard is my son, and I kept hoping he'd become the father you deserved. You're reading this because they excluded you from my funeral. I know they did because I know my son, and I know his wife's influence. But you should know that you're the only one who visited me every week in the nursing home. You're the only one who called just to talk, not to hint about inheritance. You're the only one who loved me for me, not for what I could give you. The others will be shocked by my will. Let them be. You've earned everything through love, while they assumed blood would be enough. All my love, Grandpa Theodore. I was crying when the conference room door burst open. Patricia entered first, her funeral makeup still perfect. What is she doing here? She demanded, then noticed my tears. Oh please, don't play the grieving granddaughter now. You couldn't even be bothered to come to the service. Mrs. Morrison, Mr. Blackwood said coolly, Miss Chen was explicitly barred from attending. I have multiple witnesses who saw your son physically blocking her entry. Because it was family only. Then perhaps we should discuss what Theodore Morrison considered family. He gestured for everyone to sit. Richard, Patricia, Marcus, Claire, and the twins filed in, their faces shifting from grief to suspicion as they saw me at the table. The last will and testament of Theodore Morrison, executed 3 months ago, supersedes all previous versions, Mr. Blackwood began. 3 months ago? Richard interrupted. He wasn't of sound mind 3 months ago. On the contrary, I have statements from 3 doctors confirming his mental capacity, as well as video documentation of the will signing. Theodore was quite specific about covering all bases. He continued reading the legal preamble, then reached the distributions. To my son Richard Morrison, I leave the family Bible and my wedding ring, with the hope that he might someday understand that family is about more than blood. Richard's face darkened. That's it. To Patricia Morrison, my daughter-in-law, I leave my collection of family photographs, the ones that include all 6 of my grandchildren, not the edited versions she prefers to display. Patricia went pale. To Marcus Morrison, I leave my fishing equipment and a reminder that the best catches come to those who show up. This is wrong, Marcus said. The company, the houses, the investments. To Claire Morrison, I leave my library of first editions, with the hope she might read them and learn that cruelty dressed in designer clothing is still cruelty. Claire's mouth opened and closed like a fish. To David and Daniel Morrison, I leave my vintage car collection, to be held in trust until they demonstrate 1 full year of employment anywhere other than their father's company. The twins exchanged panicked looks. Neither had worked a day in their lives. To Jeremy Morrison, my nephew's son, I leave $100,000, and my sincere apologies for including him in my previous will simply to exclude Sophie. Get to the real assets, Richard demanded. Mr. Blackwood smiled slightly. The remainder of my estate, Morrison Construction, and all its holdings, the commercial real estate portfolio, the investment accounts, the 4 homes, and all other assets not specifically mentioned, I leave to my chosen granddaughter, Sophia Chen, who proved that family is defined by presence, not DNA. The explosion was immediate. This is fraud, Richard roared. She manipulated a sick old man. I have security footage, Mr. Blackwood interrupted calmly, of every visit to the nursing home for the past 2 years. Miss Chen visited 104 times. You, Mr. Morrison, visited twice, both times to discuss business matters. We were busy running the company, Patricia shrieked. The company that should be ours. The company Theodore built while you spent its profits, Mr. Blackwood noted. He was quite aware of the 3 mortgages you've taken on your home, Richard, and the gambling debts, and Patricia's shopping addiction that required a second mortgage. I sat silent, stunned. Morrison Construction was worth at least $50 million. The real estate portfolio added another $30 million. The houses, the investments. It was more money than I'd ever dreamed of. As for manipulation, Mr. Blackwood continued, Theodore documented everything. Every Sunday dinner Miss Chen was excluded from. Every family vacation she wasn't invited on. Every graduation, birthday, and holiday where you pretended she didn't exist. He has recordings, Richard, of you telling him she was just the adopted one and didn't need to be included in the will. She's not even a Morrison, Claire spat. She kept her Chinese last name. Because you all made it clear I was never really part of the family, I finally spoke. 25 years of being reminded I should be grateful for the bare minimum. 25 years of watching you take Grandpa's money while mocking him behind his back. You little. Marcus lunged toward me, but Mr. Blackwood's security guard stepped forward. There's one more thing, Mr. Blackwood said. Theodore included a video message. The screen on the wall flickered to life. Grandpa appeared, sitting in his favorite chair in the nursing home, looking directly at the camera. If you're watching this, he said, his voice strong despite his age, then you've learned about my decision. Richard, you're my son, and I love you, but you've become someone I don't recognize. You taught your children that money matters more than kindness, that blood matters more than loyalty. Sophie came to me when she was 7 years old, a scared little girl who just wanted a family. You gave her a house but never a home. You gave her food but never belonging. You gave her your name on paper but never in your hearts. But she gave me something precious, unconditional love. She didn't love me for my money or my company. She loved me for my stories, my terrible jokes, and my burned pancakes on our Sunday mornings together. To those of you angry about my decision, ask yourselves this. When was the last time you called just to say hello? When did you ever visit without mentioning money? When did you include Sophie in anything without being forced? Sophie, my dear girl, I know you'll want to share with them because that's who you are. But please remember, they had 25 years to share with you and chose not to. Use this gift to build the life you deserve, surrounded by people who choose you. And to my family who thought blood was enough, it wasn't. Love is what makes a family. Sophie proved that every Sunday at dawn when she showed up to go fishing with an old man, while the rest of you slept off your country club parties. Be well, all of you. But be better. The screen went dark. The room sat in silence until Richard stood abruptly. We'll contest this. No court will uphold. Theodore anticipated that. Mr. Blackwood said, "Any family member who contests the will forfeits their specific bequest and triggers the donation clause. Everything goes to the foster care foundation that brought Sophie to your family." They left then, one by one, their threats and curses echoing in the hallway. Only Patricia lingered at the door. "He never loved you," she said quietly. "We took you in for the tax break and the good publicity. You were supposed to be grateful and disappear." "I know," I said simply. "But Grandpa loved me, and that was enough." After they left, Mr. Blackwood handed me a set of keys. "The house on Elmwood. Theodore wanted you to have it immediately. He said you'd understand why." I did. It was the house where he'd taught me to ride a bike after Richard said it wasn't worth the effort. Where we'd built a treehouse when I wasn't invited to Claire's birthday party. Where I'd hidden during the family reunion when they told everyone I was the help's daughter to avoid questions. "There's also this," Mr. Blackwood added, handing me another envelope. "The deed to the Morrison family plot at Riverside Cemetery. Theodore purchased a separate plot and asked to be buried there instead. He said he wanted to rest somewhere I'd always be welcome to visit." I finished, tears flowing freely now. That evening, I stood at Grandpa's real grave. A simple stone in a quiet corner of the cemetery, away from the Morrison family mausoleum. Fresh flowers surrounded it, and I recognized the handwriting on the cards. Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Kumar, Coach Williams, and dozens of others who'd seen how the Morrisons treated me over the years. "You did it, Grandpa," I whispered. "You gave me a real family after all." My phone buzzed with texts from my actual chosen family, my husband, my medical school friends, my colleagues at the children's hospital where I worked. People who'd chosen me not for what I could give them, but for who I was. Later, I drove past the Morrison house and saw moving trucks in the driveway. The mortgages Mr. Blackwood had mentioned must have been due. Part of me wanted to help, the part that had spent 25 years trying to earn their love. But Grandpa's words echoed in my mind. "They had 25 years to share with you and chose not to." I drove home instead, to my real home, where I was not an afterthought or an obligation, but simply Sophie. Tomorrow, I'd meet with financial advisors and lawyers. Tomorrow, I'd figure out how to run a construction empire and manage millions I'd never expected to have. But tonight, I grieve the grandfather who'd chosen me when no one else would. The man who'd seen past DNA to find his truest grandchild. The one who'd given me the greatest gift, not money or companies, but the knowledge that I'd been genuinely, completely, unconditionally loved. And in the end, that inheritance was worth more than all the others combined.